Hello, cruel world, and welcome to another episode of I Love This, You Should Too. My name is Indy Randawa, and with me is my co-host, Samantha Randawa.
That's me.
How are you doing today, Sam?
I'm good. I'm covered in kitchen spices, but I'm good. I'm very spicy today. How are you, Indy?
Don't worry about it.
Okay. That's a good answer for a podcast, audio-only show.
Recently I've been paying attention to this more often, because you see it in TV shows, but I've been paying attention to it in real life. When there's like a married couple and one just doesn't answer things.
Yeah.
Like, where were you last night? Like, don't worry about it. What business is that of yours? And that's how like people operate.
That's so weird. Because my answer would be, it's my business because we're married?
Yeah.
Like, you'd think that you'd just tell me?
Do we share too much? No, because
No.
there's people who will like poop in front of each other.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah, but if I'm like, hey, where'd you go last night? And you say, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I think you're up to crime.
Crime.
Yeah.
Or infidelity.
Which is illegal, isn't it? Isn't it technically illegal?
Is it?
I don't know. I think
in the church, maybe.
Yeah, I think some states probably have laws against
I'm
it.
sure. States have laws against
Can't
everything.
carry a ice cream cone in your pocket in Kentucky.
You have to have a horse hitch outside of all businesses in Alberta.
And that horse better have a diaper on it. But there's so many people that are just like, no, I don't tell my wife that.
Let us know. How much do you share with your partner?
I feel like where you are is a pretty low bar.
Yeah. It's like where I went and...
If I was doing a crime, I'd be like, oh, I did this crime. You should have seen it. It's so sweet. Listen to this sweet crime I did.
You do tell me about all your crimes.
All my sweet, sweet crime.
Is it still the law that I can't testify against you?
Well, that's an American thing.
Okay.
Someone can't be compelled to testify. But you could always just, like, no comment it, I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
Crime.
Maybe I shouldn't confess all my sweet crimes to you.
You heard it here. Indy is taking the don't worry about it stance.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Well, then I'm not going to tell you about all the sweet crimes I do.
My other favorite thing is like, hey, where were you? What are you, my biographer?
Oh, yeah, you do bring that one out sometimes. And then I roll my eyes and say, no, where were you?
No, but that one I bring up because usually it's for hiding a present of yours.
Is it?
You're like, what's in that bag? What are you, my biographer?
True.
Usually, if I don't tell you what something is, it's a gift.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty much everything.
Noted.
Well, now I'm just going to use it all the time, and you think all these presents are coming to you. But in reality,
no presents.
I'm out there doing, what is it again?
Crimes.
Sweet, sweet crime.
So many crimes.
Like burgle, arson, arsony.
Yeah.
It's when you burgle a place, set it on fire, and then also steal more stuff.
After?
Yeah.
It's on fire.
Burgle, arson, arsony.
Oh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a lot to do in one night.
Quite the feat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, back to this being a podcast.
Oh yeah.
Welcome. And here at I Love This, You Should Too, we are proud members of the Alberta Podcast Network, which is locally grown and community supported. Today is a preview episode for Samantha's big pick that we'll be talking about next week. So
Yes.
We'll each have a little quick review for you, and then we'll hear what we're watching for our big pick. But before we get into it, let's thank our first sponsor of the episode. And this episode of I Love This, You Should Too is brought to you in part by the Alberta Blue Cross. Even if you're a busy business owner with more meetings than hours in a day, you can be calm and collected when your group benefit plan is taken care of by Alberta Blue Cross. Your employees can manage their own health, dental, life, and disability coverage online anytime or on any device, making it easier for them and for you. To learn more and explore your options, head to ab.bluecross.ca. All right, Samantha, what is your thing of the week?
So my thing of the week, speaking of sweet, sweet crimes, is called, it is the Discovery Plus Prime Video series, Why Women Kill.
Okay, before we even break down that, Discovery Plus Prime Video series.
Yes.
What do all those words mean?
So Discovery Plus is a...
Discovery Channel?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a streaming service in the States.
Like Nova. Don't they just show old episodes of Nova all the time?
Probably. And like Animal Planet.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother network.
Is it?
Animal Planet.
It's its own network?
Animal Planet's a network, not a show.
Good for Animal Planet.
Yeah, well, I think that's what it always was.
I thought it was a show.
Oh.
And then Prime Video for us here in Canada is the distributor of this television show.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So it is a dark American comedy drama, which is a lot of words to describe one show. And the show was created by Mark Cherry, who created Desperate Housewives. And both of his shows have a fun kind of what goes on behind your neighbor's closed doors kind of storyline to them.
Did you watch Desperate Housewives?
I've watched a bit of it, not the whole thing. Did you?
No.
Okay.
I just wanted to learn about those housewives. Why are they so desperate?
I think it's the same kind of idea, but this one has kind of a cool twist to it.
Cool.
So it's super fun and quick moving. You kind of never get bored of one storyline because it's set in 3 different decades in the same house in Palisades, California.
Oh, are there ghosts?
No.
Okay.
There are not ghosts. Mark Cherry said in an interview that there would be 3 deaths at the end of the series and they would all be committed by women, but it's not necessarily the 3 main women and the victims are not necessarily the men on the title characters. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of twisty and turny, and there's a lot of fun side characters that you get to meet that make everything kind of move along and is kind of campy and decade specific.
Okay. So there's 3 main characters?
Yes. So this is only season 1 of the show. Season 2 was just released, which is why I'm doing it, because it's all available on Prime. And they've already greenlit a season 3, which I'm very excited about.
Oh.
So the first decade is 1963, and Beth Ann Stenton, played by Jennifer Goodwin, remains content as a housewife until she learns of her husband Rob, who's played by Sam Jaggers, unfaithfulness. And then in 1984, socialite Simone Grove, played by Lucy Liu, discovers her 3rd husband Carl is homosexual and begins her own affair with a younger man. And then in 2019, a bisexual attorney, Taylor, played by Kirby Howell Baptiste, and her husband, who is in an open marriage, Eli, who's played by Reed Scott, become attracted to the same woman, Jade, and hijinks ensues in all of the decades.
So much hijinks.
So much hijinks.
What kind of hijinks are ensuing?
Affairs mostly. Mm-hmm. And then also just fun. I don't know. One of the things that I really liked about the show is that there's really great transitions between the decades because it is the same house. They do a really good job of fading out one decor and in another decor in the same room.
Oh, that's fun.
So it'll often be someone's having a bath, and then in the next decade, all of the trinkets and things around the bath would change out, and it would be someone from the next decade taking that same bath.
Cool.
Yeah. So they do a really good job of kind of mixing in fun movie tropes as well as good comedy writing, I guess. It was a funny show.
Where does the comedy come from in this?
I think it's more of the kind of dark comedy of more illicit things. I don't know how to answer that question.
So it's is it more situational? They're in situations where it's kind of absurd and they're how did we get into this, or are there people making jokes, or what's the comedy of this dark comedy? It
is very situational, and each of the decades, I don't want to give away too much because obviously the twists are what make it kind of fun and kind of leave a surprise for the end. But the all of the decades definitely get kind of mixed up in things that they shouldn't, and kind of all come to the same point of like, we kind of have no choice but to kill someone or to get rid of this person, or this person needs to be out of our life. So it's fun to see that. And another fun thing is that all the episodes are named after old noir films.
Oh.
Yes.
Like what?
They Made Me a Killer from 1946. Murder My Sweet from 1944.
That's a good one.
The Woman in the Window from 1944.
Oh, that's a very good one, yeah.
So they kind of follow this noir old Hollywood feel.
So for extra research into your show, are you going to watch all those movies now?
I don't know. Maybe a few of them.
I'm into that. There's a couple good ones in there.
Because I don't know most of them. And I wonder if by watching a few of those movies, the episodes would be kind of fun. Like if the episodes are a little more based on those movies. This show was one of the most streamed shows on the Discovery Plus streaming service. And that's why it got 2 more seasons. So you can find Why Women Kill on either Discovery Plus or Prime Video.
And did you find out why?
Yes.
Women kill?
Yeah.
Why?
I can't tell you that.
Oh, man.
It's a secret. It's a womanly secret.
See, these are the kinds of secrets that you shouldn't be keeping.
Don't worry about it.
See, that's a sign of someone who's going to kill.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably? Okay.
No,
As
I
long as
just
it's not
mean
me.
if someone's saying that, they're probably about to do a murder.
Yeah, everyone who doesn't answer your questions probably going to commit murder.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, you're very happy about your murder.
No, I've never murdered that you know of.
Well, no, clearly. But you just said, I've never murdered. And then you add that you know of, which is just saying like, hey, I murdered someone.
We'll see.
We'll see if you will or if you have.
If I have. Indy, what's your thing of the week?
Well, I think my thing of the week should be an escape plan. Living with an eventual murderer. Good thing you didn't do books this time because I got books.
Oh, see, I like to switch it up unconsciously, not knowing what you're doing.
I read a lot of children's literature for my job, and then I started thinking about what my favorite books were as a kid, and I'm revisiting them because I remember when you're a kid, you want to like read an entire series, but it's daunting. Some of those books are big, but now I can read them super quick, so that's fun. And I have read, I think, probably 5 books this month that I really loved in elementary school.
Easy readers.
Yeah, well, not easy readers.
No?
Easy reader is an actual specific category of book.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like children's books are easy to read.
They are, and easy readers are very easy, but those are a much lower level.
Oh, okay.
Probably around grade 3, maybe 2. My favorite book was called The Phantom Tollbooth, and it is written by a man named Norton Juster and was first published in 1961. I picked it up from the library just based on the cover because it was bigger than everything else. And I was like, you know what? I'm a pretty big time guy. I'm going to read this giant book.
Oh.
And it was like 300 some pages, which every kid's book is now.
Yeah.
But at the time, not very common. So it looked very big and daunting, and I really loved it. And it was kind of my favorite for a very long time. The story is about a boy named Milo who's just really bored, and then he receives a magic toll booth in the mail.
Oh, that's fun.
And it transports him to this kingdom. And the kingdom was once prosperous and now is falling apart, and he's going to try to save it. And he meets a watchdog named Talk, because it's a dog with a big watch in its sign,
Right.
of course. And the humbug, who is a grumpy bug. And they go on this adventure, and a lot of it is about plays on words a lot, because there's 2 like big kind of warring castles, and I think it's Digitopolis and Dictionopolis, and like one is all about words and one is all about numbers. And he goes to like a number mine, and
A number mine? What happens at a number mine?
they mine numbers.
Really?
Yeah, where do you think numbers come from?
Space? I don't know.
You gotta mine them. You gotta dig them up.
Oh.
So then he was like, "Oh, what's the biggest number you have?" And they go, "Oh, right over there. Look at that 3. It's huge." He goes, "No. Like, what's the longest number you have?" And he goes, "Oh, okay. Like that 8. It's really long and stretched out." So it's a lot of like silly plays on words like that, just like the Watchdog and the Humbug. And Milo has never really understood the importance of learning, and that's kind of the underlying lesson of it, is that it's important to learn stuff and be a lifelong learner.
It is.
And he always thought of school as being a big waste of time, but just because he didn't really understand what they're going for. Mm-hmm. And the book does like subtly criticize rote learning and things like that, because there is a another pun bug. There's a spelling bee who spells everything, and someone is saying like, that's not intelligence. You just memorize those things. There's nothing really important about that. At one point, he meets like half a boy, and he's
which half?
Like the right.
Oh, okay.
0.58 of a child, and they're like, "Why are you 0.58?" And he goes, "Oh, because we're average. My family has 2.58 children. We're an average family, so I'm the 0.58."
Oh, I get it. Statistics.
Yeah. So it's a lot of things like that, which when you're a kid and you can get the joke, you're like, "Oh, I get it. I'm so clever." And in grade 3, a lot of the stuff is quite clever for that, I think.
That's fun.
And there's this idea of that we need common sense, and this world doesn't have any, because there are 2 princesses who are named Rhyme and Reason, and they have been kidnapped, and that's kind of the main problem. And without Rhyme or Reason, nothing makes sense in this world, because it's all things like 0.58 of a child, right? So he meets all of these characters and all these weird situations and learns that it's more important to have like wisdom than just like read things just as they are. And I'd recommend this book to anyone. If you have a kid who's like one of those kids who tells you a joke that's like kind of a roundabout pun and they're like, "Get it?" Those kids are going to love this. Kids who think they're real clever, I do.
Were you one of those kids?
Oh, of course. I'm there right now.
You are.
Yeah.
You're real clever.
Yeah, at least I think so.
You know it.
So I think it's a really good pick for those kinds of kids. I also reread Maniac Magee by Jerry Spinelli, which came out in 1990. And I think I read it not too far after that, in grade 3 or 4 or so, and it explores themes of racism and inequality, both like racially and socioeconomically. And the story is about this orphan who is homeless because he runs away from his aunt and uncle, who are just like the worst. And the town is very segregated between the east and west. One side is black, one side is white, and you just don't go across the train tracks or whatever it is. And the story is told in kind of like a legend way, but like the way legends are for kids. Like, man, I met this one kid. He could run faster than anyone. He could run faster than anyone, even if he was running backwards. Like that, those kinds of things.
Right.
So it's kind of told like that about this kid named, and they call him Maniac Magee. And they're like, "Oh, he was a maniac. He was allergic to pizza, but he could hit any baseball." And it's like all these kinds of things.
Aren't.
And
there's no correlation between those
no,
two.
but isn't that like a kid's legend?
Totally,
right?
yeah. It was like, he was so tall. He was like taller than anybody.
Yeah. He lived with buffaloes.
Yeah.
So all of those are about the legend of him, but he is kind of free from all of the prejudice that's in the city, and not because he's smarter, he just doesn't know. He just doesn't see the difference between black people and white people because he was never told that there's a difference.
Oh.
So he is like the only person in this town that can go between the two. And because he's homeless, he ends up living with a black family for a while and with white people for a while. And they each are like trying to figure out the other side. And he is kind of not brokering peace, but he's a symbol of maybe progress that they can make, because in his ignorance, in his naivety, he's able to cross those lines. And I like this one a lot as a kid. We read it, I think, in grade 3 as our like novel study.
Right. I hated novel study because you didn't get to read ahead, and you always had to do critical thinking.
You must hate this podcast.
No, I
It's
don't.
probably
I
pretty
like
rough for
it. But I just hated it as a child because I just wanted to like fly through books. I was a fast reader.
You want the content. You want to know what happens.
Yeah.
Not explore why it's happening.
Over 8 weeks.
Which is exactly why you love Game of Thrones more than I did, and I love the things that we talk about, and I want to talk about them for so long.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is like, okay, what happens next? And then you find out, and you're like, okay, that's it. I never need to talk about Game of Thrones again. But the Blade Runner, for instance, you could just talk about that for years and years.
Mm.
Wow, we were kind of set up for this early in life of what we would be now.
I think we were. As the more you're saying stuff, I'm like, yeah, I kind of hated that part.
Yeah.
I just wanted to read the books and move on to the next one.
Just know what happened.
Yeah. I like flew through books.
But you had to let it sit and have an effect on you.
Do I?
You should. And one of the things that I really appreciated about this, I was the only non-white kid in my class, and having a book that dealt with racism, so I could be like, see, this is what I've been talking about all the time. So that was nice.
That must have been fun as a child who wasn't white.
Yeah, but then all the very well-meaning teachers even would be like, so what's your take on this being? And I was like, you don't have to single me out every time.
Labor of like explaining your racism to people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no.
And then it would often be followed up with like, well, good thing that doesn't happen anymore, huh? And I was like, yeah, but actually... Moving on, one of the other books I really loved, and I think I saw a play version of it in probably grade 4 or 5, is A Bridge to Terabithia.
Oh, that was one that I always saw but never read.
Oh, it's so good. I won't say much about this one. It's about 2 children who are kind of unlikely friends. It expands gender norms a bit, which is nice for a book of the time, because I think it's from the late 70s. And they create this kind of fantastic imaginary kingdom.
Oh, that's cool.
But one of the most impressive things about this book is it has one of the most well-written depictions of grief in literature that I've ever read. And for adults or children or whoever. I'm not going to say what happens, of course, but something happens and this character goes through such confusion and misplaced anger and then guilt. And it's really preparing kids for that kind of thing. And I'm sure adults would see a lot of themselves if they've experienced this in this book as well. There are some great lessons and themes, but I think the greatest strength of Bridge to Terabithia is that it captures feelings and moments, especially if you're reading it as an adult now. You can like really relive the idea of having a new friendship or some like childhood excitement to try something different, but also it does a great job of capturing a lot of the negative stuff. The grief without context, without life experience, feeling those things for the first time and just being so utterly like at a loss of what to do. So Bridge to Terabithia is a very good book. Maybe the best of all these ones I've listed.
Seems very complex.
It's just good. It's very well written. It's actually really simple in many ways, but it just captures those things very well. And then I also read Mouse on the Motorcycle again, Indian in the Cupboard. So I'm just going back through all of my childhood reads, and it's been a lot of fun.
Nice.
Most of them hold up, I gotta say. There's some good books.
That's good to hear, because some of those like children's books really like stick with you. Like you remember what you thought of them as a child, and then as an adult you're like, oh yeah, that was such a powerful book, but a lot of people don't go back and read them.
Yeah, and maybe I like these ones still because I was kind of that kid who would read it and think about it and appreciate what's good about it. And maybe if you just read them for getting through it, and you read them again now, you're like, oh, that wasn't even good.
Maybe.
You'll have to read some of your favorite childhood books.
I'm going to have to go back and remember what we actually read.
The Giver.
The Giver was one that I remember reading.
Number the Stars is always a big one as well.
I don't think I read Number the Stars. I'll have to figure it out, though. Now that you're on this journey, I kind of want to go on it, too.
Yeah, it's fun.
So this episode is brought to you by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider in Alberta, offering internet, electricity, and natural gas with low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities. In Alberta, you get to choose who you buy your internet, electricity, and natural gas from. Park Power has low overhead, which in turn allows them to offer low competitive rates. Reach out for a no obligations comparison by emailing estimates@parkpower.ca. If you decide to switch, it's easy. It's really just a change to your billing, and you can feel good knowing you are helping to give back to your communities with your utility bills. You can learn more at parkpower.ca.
All right, Samantha, we're ready now. What are we going to be watching for the big watch next week?
So I have good news and bad news.
Okay, do I get to pick which one's first?
Yeah.
I want the good news first.
We are staying in the Step Up universe.
Hey, what's the good news?
That was the good news.
Wait, what? Then what's the bad news?
There is no moose.
Oh. Yeah, that is bad news. I think that was a bad news, worse news.
Oh, sorry.
No moose.
So this week, we will be watching the 6th installment in the Step Up series, Step Up Year of the Dance, also known as Step Up China.
I'm super excited for this, actually.
I can find almost no information on this movie because I think it was literally just released in China.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can find is it is a 2019 Chinese film about youth from different social classes in Beijing coming together to form China's best dance crew. And along the way, they learned what it really means to be a family. That is literally the only thing I can find about it.
Which you could put that for any of the movies?
True. That is the formula.
Any of these step ups so far?
But I'm excited to see what like another country does with the step up formula. And I'm excited to see the dance in China.
I'm not sure which way it'll go because there are super, super talented dance crews coming out of China. But this franchise and movies in general have a habit of just putting in a good-looking person over a great dancer in a dance movie. So I wonder what we're going to get. Are we going to get big names, even if they're not big names for us?
Right.
Or are we going to get legitimate dancers?
Yeah.
So it could be another, like, Step Up 3, where you're like, yeah, I guess he's a pretty good dancer, but he's more just good looking.
Yeah.
I need less handsome, more dancesome.
I'm going to make you a shirt that says that. It's going to say, give me a less handsome, more dancesome.
Yeah, that's what these movies need.
It's true. I'm excited to see Step Up with Chinese dancers from like a Chinese perspective, not like in one of the previous Step Up movies if there was like a Chinese dance crew. Because I feel like they'd get out the like parade dragon and it would be that like stereotypical Chinese music.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of excited to see what they come up with. I'm sure Best Dancer Ever Maria would know more about dancing around the world.
Oh, yeah.
She's like probably international dance. She's
internationally known.
Exactly. She's Best Dancer Ever. But from a cheer perspective, the Chinese cheer teams are always very, very strong because they have a very serious work ethic over there, I think. You do one thing and one thing only. I remember
this sounds like it should be the start of this movie. It's probably better than the start of this movie. I was in China and I was visiting one of the many large temples, and it was a super hot day, and on one side was shady, of course, and there was just this crew of a bunch of, like, I'd say 15 to 17-year-olds, and they were just breakdancing there.
Oh, wow.
And they were fantastic.
Yeah.
They were better than a lot of the people I've seen in some of these step-up movies. So I just hope that they get actual quality dancers and not just, like, handsome people.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see that. I don't want to watch a trailer because they tend to give away too much in these like kind of formulaic movies. Mm-hmm. But I did read you that synopsis, and that's all you're gonna get until we watch it. It's true.
Because that is Step Ups 2 through 5.
Yeah,
that's the synopsis.
They become
of all
a family,
of those. Yeah.
and everybody gets along, and everything is nice in the end.
Yeah,
absolutely. So are you excited to watch this?
Yeah, I am. I'm very curious because I do love to see different cultures take on something else because they're adding in something that is uniquely from there.
Yeah.
And it often shows you something about that. Like usually we get it the other way. We get Americans remaking movies that are great from other countries.
Exactly, yeah.
And the way what they cut and what they add in is usually pretty indicative of American culture. So I'm curious to see this going the other way.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool. And I'm excited to see Chinese culture from a Chinese person, not from an American director.
I'm also curious to see if this was just a dance movie and then for sending it over here they just said like, oh yeah, it's also a Step Up 6, why not?
Oh yeah. I wonder if there's going to be any ties to the original whole Step
None
Up
of the
universe.
cast is, correct?
Not that I know of, no.
All right.
Because there's like also no information on the Step Up franchise page about it.
Yeah, so that's why I'm thinking like, is this really a step up?
They were
or
just
is it
trying
step
to
up in name only?
Maybe. Well, we will discuss that next week when we watch it. And you can come back and we will be discussing Step Up Year of the Dance, also known as Step Up China or Step Up 6.
Yeah, and if you're having trouble finding it, I don't know, maybe send us a message on one of our many social media things and we might be able to help you out.
We might be able to find you one. Okay, bye everyone!
Keep stepping up!
Bye.